Wider view. So now, as you mentioned already, this idea of the wider, okay, pens please. So first of all, we're talking about trying to expand. Now, a view could be something that you can see. So it could be the environment. We talk about it being both a noun and a verb. So what you can see, to view, to look at the view. But it can also be about your mindset. So what are your views of things? Now, I think this poem deals with both these ideas. So both about the mindset of people working during the Industrial Revolution, as well as things they could literally see, and how often the way we think doesn't necessarily fit into the way that we live. Okay. As we also mentioned, this is set in Leeds. There's lots of geography here that is specific to Leeds, that makes the poem quite grounded in its environment. From the backyard of his back-to-back, my great-great-granddad searched for spaces in the smoke-filled sky to stack his dreams. Interesting word here, to stack. So to stack means to build up. Like, imagine stacking blocks. So he looks in the sky for a space to build something for himself, to stack his dreams, to have hopes. Now, of course, the dreams, to me, is the idea of the view, right? To build something, to have something you're going for, right? The back-to-back, as we mentioned in homing, is very small. They're small houses. They were built for workers during the Industrial Revolution. And the backyard is his a small space outside. Usually it would be concrete, so not necessarily like a garden, but like a small hard. You get the sense here of hardness, like small houses, smoke-filled sky. So we have a bit about the pollution of the factories. But there's a contrast here, right, between the way this man lives and what he thinks. So he lives in poverty, but he dreams of something bigger. So we've got a bit of a theme straight away here: poverty versus dreams. He doesn't allow his situation to beat him down. High above the cholera. The cholera was a disease. It's a waterborne disease that was common in areas of poor sanitation. To keep them and his newborn safe from harm. Okay, so we have a sense here of family. Now, of course, remember, the newborn, if this is her great-great-granddad, the newborn is probably her great-granddad. Sense here about how this man's efforts established her life over history, right? This sort of the long time of this. But there's a sense here that life is hard. Life is hard. There is disease. Trying to keep your newborn baby alive in this situation of smoke and pollution disease. In 1869, so it's quite rare for poetry to actually ground itself in dates, but she's chosen to do so. In 1869, eyes dry with dust. Eyes dry with dust. Notice the D's. Dry with dust. Makes it sound kind of harsh, sharp. But of course, the eyes are another version of the view. So he literally can't see because his eyes are full of dust. From 12 hours combing flax beneath the conicals of light in Marshall's Temple Mill. Okay. Now, conicals means a cone. So in this big temple, what you'll find is that the light would be like this. So coming through the ceiling. So there's very little light. There's just these little cones of light that shine down. Okay. Combing refers to like a fabric mill. This is what he does all day. 12 hours of just combing fabric, right? Relentless, difficult, hard work. Okay, in the dark. Okay, don't be confused, right? The light that's being referred to is light that is very small, little windows of light. He took the long way home. Okay, nice little metaphor there. Because he craved the comfort of a wider view. Okay, so she's used the name of the poem in the poem itself. Okay, now again, there's two meanings to this. It could be that he wants to literally see more, or it could be that he wants to dream, that he wants to expand his life from the basics of what he's got. Now remember, all of this is her guessing. She doesn't know any of this. She's guessing because she didn't know this guy. As he passed the panelled gates of Tower Works, the tall octagonal crown of Hardy's chimney. Okay. Now all of these, that there. Okay. So octagonal means eight-sided. So we've got Tower Works, Hardy's chimney. So this is the architecture. So when he looks up, he sees the beauty of the world, right? That people can build things that are beautiful. It's not just depressing and dark and smoky. As he passed the panelled gates, so again the panels of almost like artwork. As he passed the panelled gates of Tower Works, the tall octagonal crown of Hardy's chimney drew his sights. So to draw means to almost take, right? To almost pull in. I'll put pull in. His sights beyond the limits, keyword there, of his working life. So his life is very limited. He has no chance of promotion. He's not going to make a lot of money. He lives in poverty. But it gives him something good in his life. Drowned, which is quite an aggressive verb there, the din of engines, looms and shuttles. So this is all language about the factory. Okay, the din, a din is a loud noise. Okay. Drown the din of engines, looms, shuttles. A loom is what you use to sort of sew fabric or like make cloth. The shuttle is the thing that you put through the loom. So you put the shuttle through the loom, you then move the loom, move the shuttle, move the loom, move the shuttle, move the loom. There's a sense here that it's very repetitive. That all day he'd hear the same sounds. So potentially what he wants here is a bit of peace, right? So if you drown out the din, it means that you have some sort of peace with imagined peals of ringing bells. Are the bells real? No, they're imagined. So the tower has no bells in it, but he likes to imagine what it'd be like. So he wants to imagine what it must have been like to live somewhere like Florence, where the original bell tower was that we talked about. So just be very careful with this, right? Because although it sounds in its style like quite a positive poem, it's actually quite a negative poem. Because this man is trying to escape from the noise, the pollution, the horror of his life. And the only way he can do it is to walk home the long way and just look up and imagine a different world. Okay. Now, as you mentioned, if you haven't already, please draw a line right here. So this is our volta. Okay, the Italian word for time, a shift. And again, she doesn't make it difficult to see. Today. Now the poem was written in 2010, so we're talking, 150 years later, right? Today. My footsteps echo. My footsteps echo. Thank you. My footsteps echo in the sodium gloom of Neville Street's dark arches. Okay, sodium gloom. Interesting thing here. So sodium is salt. So this is the tricky bit of this poem. Okay, it gets very metaphorical. So you've got to be really thoughtful about this, right? As I've had to be. My footsteps echo. Now, echo is an interesting word here because I think there's two meanings to this. The first one is the literal one, like in those arches, the sound echoes. But an echo is also something that goes through time. So if you make a noise and it echoes, then it kind of travels beyond the original time. So there's an idea here of time that what's echoing is the past into the present. We can still see and feel the past, even though the people that lived there are long gone. The sodium gloom of Neville Street's dark arches and the red brick vaults. Now, a vault is a underground, like an underground safe. So she can still walk through these same dark places that her great granddad did and feel what it must have felt like. So there's an idea here of being, I'm going to put this here, this is very important for this poem, connected to the past through place. Through place. Today my footsteps echo in the sodium gloom of Neville Street's dark arches and the red brick vaults begin to moan as time collapsing in the river air, circle this word here please, sweeps me out to meet him on the wharf. So there's an idea here that when she walks in the same place as her great-great-grandfather, time collapses. The past and the present, so the past and the present become one. That she feels like she's back in the past, that her granddad and her are connected in some kind of way, right? The moaning of time has some kind of feel of distress to it, but almost like this movement, right? She feels the pain of the past in the present. We stand now. Okay, so notice again a change, right? The we is collective, referring to her plus the grandfather, right? We stand now, timeless in the flux of time. Timeless in the flux of time. Complicated, right? Now, timeless, to me, is this idea that you are kind of free. Right? You think about the way that time controls us. So time tells us where to be, time makes us get older, time is a very strict, serious thing. It ticks by, it never changes, it's tight and regulated. Timeless means to be free. Timeless in the flux of time. Now flux is a word for movement. And of course the idea is that time always moving. Right? Time never stops. You can't pause time, you can't stop time. But fluctuations mean that it moves around, right? There's something wild about it. Anchored, to be grounded, only by the axis of our gaze. Okay. So, axis, gaze. So they are seeing the same view. Okay, an axis, think of like a graph. An axis is an angle, okay, of our gaze. So we stand here, me and him look at the same thing, and the time collapses. We look at the same chimney, and we are here together in the same spot. A ventilation shaft with gilded tiles and Giotto's geometric lines. Okay, so now Giotto is the Italian architect. Please. Gilded tiles, so gilded means golden. But remember, it's a ventilation shaft, so it's a factory. So this thing is both beautiful and awful. The chimney looks beautiful on the outside, but on the inside it is a ventilation shaft. It's not a beautiful chimney, it's not a beautiful church with bells that ring. It is a piece of factory that's been disguised as beautiful architecture. Well, the curve of past and future generations arc between us, right? An arc. So arches always have sides that are grounded. So we both are standing there in our past, but we are connected together, right? The past and the future generations of people arc between us. So connected despite time. Okay. Now this first part here, these first three stanzas, to me are very, very simple, right? They're very descriptive. The past is simple, He got up, he went to work, he tried to look after his family. His life was very difficult and hard, and he tried to find himself some beauty in life. The second two I think are very complicated, because what she's trying to explain is the feeling of being linked to this guy, because she lives in the same place, she's in the same location, she's seen the same things that he saw, and yet the entire poem is her guessing. But she feels the connection. And no matter how much this guy was repressed by his poverty in his life, there are beautiful things in the world, and you can try and find some freedom from them.